Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started, and appreciate everybody participating in the webinar today. Today's topic is going to be about identity theft and the unemployment system. We thought it was a very timely topic, considering a couple of factors. One, obviously, identity theft and security breaches are in the news a lot these days, especially with some very high-profile breaches of personal data, et cetera. And the other thing is we've seen a rash of unemployment claims in certain states that were filed against employees who are currently working, and they obviously did not file them. So we thought it would be a very helpful short webinar on what to do and if you're confronted with this, and what your employees should do, more importantly, because these are the individuals who are obviously going to be impacted even more so than the company itself. So the first thing is how does this impact us, the company, or the employee? Well, if not caught, obviously the first thing it'll do is it's going to result in unwarranted benefit charges. And obviously for merit-rated employers, this may mean an increase in your tax rate if it's not caught. I mean, obviously it would take a lot of unemployment expense for a major rate increase to occur. But if you're on the borderline of a rate and in the rate reserve ratio system, and you had $10,000, $15,000 or $20,000 of unwarranted or fraudulent unemployment costs, that could have a impact on your unemployment tax rate that's unnecessary. For reimbursable employers, for our nonprofit, not-for-profit, and governmental agencies, this is a bigger problem for you because a fraudulent claim is a dollar-for-dollar hit every time you have an unemployment claim filed against you. So that it's even more important for reimbursable employers to keep an eye on this type of thing and be aggressive in this, because you have a much bigger dollar amount that you could be potentially hit for immediately as a result of this. And of course, it goes without saying that this results in a cost of time and energy. Especially for your employees, this is going to be something that is going to impact them, because the system is going to allow the employer to find relief from this problem quicker than the employee. Obviously, the employee has the problem of that somebody has hacked their identity and now has their personal information. So it's going to be, even though the company is going to get off the hook immediately for the fraudulent claim, the problem will be is that you're still going to have an employee that you're going to have to, just out of being a good employer, help navigate through this process of trying to avoid any more damage to their credit and to their identity than it already is. So it obviously creates an employee issue that may have a lingering impact, not only on the company, but on the employee, their scheduling, all kinds of things. So this is a huge problem right now. Fortunately, for employers who are using, like us, UIS, we're obviously monitoring this on a daily basis. And so when we get an unemployment claim, we are getting upfront knowledge that this is something that is occurring. For the employee, unfortunately, the first notification that they may get of this whole problem is when they do file the unemployment claim. Of course, the other problem is that the employee may be, if they don't catch this in a timely manner, they may result in overpayments, it may result in garnishments, all kinds of other legal problems if it's not caught in a timely manner and addressed in the appropriate way. So what's the signs of a fraudulent claim? Well, the obvious one, and the one that's occurring most often, is the employee is currently employed with no changes in their employment status. Okay, that's the biggest one right now, is where we're obviously getting an unemployment claim, and the individuals are telling, our contacts are coming back to us and saying this individual has not filed an unemployment claim. They are currently working and there has been no change. Some of the more alternative methods that people are finding out is demands of payment or collection. There's been an overpayment set up by the state, and the individuals are now receiving demands from the state with threats of garnishment and fines and other in interest of repayment of overpaid benefits. Another problem, another way that you might find out is you may receive something from the Internal Revenue Service in the form of 1099 that is reporting to you that unemployment benefits have been paid out. So the individual receives a tax notification that they're supposed to put on their income tax return that unemployment benefits were paid, and then they need to file, report those as wages earned in their in their most recent IRS form. Or another one that's more common probably than the previous two, it comes in second, is the individual files a legitimate claim and finds that one is already exist in their name. So these are problems that exist. These are the most common ones. And again, the problem with this type of issue is that the individual, unless they're monitoring their credit and their identity through some other means, they're not going to know that this is an issue until they actually have the unemployment claim filed. This is a huge problem for the unemployment trust funds in the states at this time. There have been some extremely elaborate con games going on in regards to this. There's actually been several high-profile arrests in this area where they've broken up whole rings that are just geared towards filing fraudulent unemployment claims. One particular one actually set up their own company, believe it or not, and then they used the identities that they had stolen, and they were filing false wage reports and sending these into the state as a false company, and then using all these, all this money to, it was to the tune of several $100,000 that they were collecting before they were caught. So you really need to be, employees need to be really watching, their own internal affairs in order to help monitor this, because this is becoming a wider spread problem. Now, if you're a victim, what now? And what do you do now? And we're going to have a couple of links here that are going to help your employees and you to do these type of things at the end of the webinar here. But the biggest thing is immediately file a protest to the claim identifying the suspicion. And that is a very simple process where we will help you out with that. But you file a protest stating that the unemployment claim is fraudulent, this individual has not filed the claim, and that you need to, so that's the first step. The second step, and we're going to have a link here about this, is to contact the State Department of Labor and file a fraud report. Each department now each state has a department dedicated to unemployment insurance fraud, not only dealing with identity theft, but other types of fraud. So if you suspected an individual, for example, of taking money under the table and not reporting earnings, that would be where you would also report this. But for the purposes of this, you would want to contact the Department of Labor and immediately file a fraud report on behalf of that employee. The experts suggest strongly that you also file a police report. And it's surprising, even in this era where identity theft has been so prevalent for the last few years, a lot of police departments don't really know what to do with the report after you made it. But at least you have a legal record of an individual of the fraud, and that you're laying a legal foundation to help get out from underneath any type of expense or fines or anything or legal entanglements that you may have with that. The other thing is that you should immediately file a fraud alert with your credit bureaus, at least one. You only have to file the fraud alert with one credit bureau, and it is supposed to take effect for the other two as well. But this is a very important thing, because obviously if they have your identity, and as you all well know, for the unemployment claim to go through, this individual had to have some basic sensitive information to file the claim. They at least have to have your full name and a social security number. So if they have that, and more often than not they'll have more, they're going to have a lot of ability to do damage in other areas. So filing a fraud alert with the credit bureaus is very important. If a payment has been made or not, you should file, even if it has not been made, you should file a fraud report with the Internal Revenue Service. And again, that's going to be one of the links that we show you here. You want to make sure that the Internal Revenue Service is informed that if a payment is made eventually, it slips through the cracks somehow, then that a fraud report has been filed, and you can avoid the entanglement of the 1099 and paying taxes on the fraudulent unemployment benefits that are collected. And then finally, there is a suggestion that you file a report with the Federal Trade Commission, and I'm assuming that has a lot to do with just interstate trade and stuff like that. You can file a report and a fraud report with the Federal Trade Commission, and we'll have that link as well. So I know this is not going to be our longest webinar that we've ever had, but we wanted to get at least out there that these are areas that you need to be aware of and kind of look at. And when we send out the webinar, a copy of it and everything, you'll be able to get these links, or if you need these links emailed to you, we'd be happy to do that for you. The first one is a link from the United States Department of Labor that has a comprehensive list of all of the State Department of Labor's fraud departments. So if you click that Department of Labor link, that's going to take you, and you'll be able to find the link to your individual state as needed. And of course, if you ever need help, don't hesitate to give us a call, and we'd be happy to assist you in that process as well. And we would assist you in any of this process. We've done this many times before, and unfortunately, we're getting to be quite good at it. But that's the first thing. The second thing is the identity theft report with the IRS. That's a very helpful link. It takes you right to the report page that you need to complete and submit online. And then the third link is the FTC report. Of course, if you need to file with your credit bureau, that would be an individual choice of which credit bureau that you would go to and file that report. And then, of course, the police department would be completely dependent upon your municipality. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions and see if anybody has any questions. And if you don't want to talk about it here, you can always email me and or give me a call, and we'd be happy to answer any questions we have. But we want to get this out there and at least give you some information as to what to do if an employee of yours is confronted by this particular type of thing. So if there's any questions, we'll go ahead and open it up right now. Okay. Well, if there's no questions, we appreciate you taking the time. Like I said, this is one of our shorter ones, but at least we wanted to get some information out there about this to you. If you have a more specific question, don't hesitate to give us a call. And as usual, we will be sending out a copy of this for your purposes. And you can also find this, on our web page or our YouTube page. So we'll be happy to help out in any way we can. So thank you again, and have a great day.